Giancarlo, we're live. How are you, man?
Hey, how's going?
It's very good, very good. Utah is nice and sunny today. It's a little bit warm, but it's all good. How are things in Italy? Because that's where you
Yeah,
are.
absolutely. I'm in Italy right now. I'm actually at my parents' home. I'll
Oh,
be traveling to our pizza office in the next few days. I will spend the time with our amazing engineering team there.
awesome. Yeah, I know that the engineering team is super excited to see you, right? They always are. So I'm glad that you're getting to be over there. That's really, really good. Looks like we've got a full house here, which is pretty nice. It's good to see everybody on with us. Super excited about that. I know we've got lots of things to talk about, lots of good stuff in the works. Um, One of the things I need to start with, Giancarlo, is some of the change to the organizations that we've been making. I mean, we talked before a little bit about the sales team, right, and what we've been doing. I definitely want to touch on that, but I also want to talk about our product team because we've been making some really good changes there, right? What's your thoughts? What do you think? I mean, we've had our new sales team kind of in place for the last 3 months or so. What do you think's going right? What can we do better? What's your thoughts there?
Oh, yeah, there is always room for doing better, and absolutely, I'm always open to any recommendation, suggestion for doing better. But we are doing great. I mean, by adding a few resources in what we call our revenues team,
Yeah,
it's helping not only internally, of course, but it's helping a lot the relationship with our customers. And I'm really keen to the experience of our users. So we have more resources to take care of our existing customer, making sure that they're happy, they can scale with Domotz, they can have success with Domotz. So I'm very
absolutely.
excited about that.
I completely agree with you, right? The feedback that I'm getting, both from the integration market as well as the service provider market, right? Both that we cater to, the account management side of things, right? Being able to follow up, having sales engineers that they can now engage with, understand the onboarding process has been very, very, very positive, right? The
Yeah,
fact that even when new customers contact our SDRs and get to our account executives, right? These guys are trained up and knowledgeable about our systems. It's helping so much. And, obviously a lot of our current customers have gone through some transitions with us here. But once they hear that we have a sales engineering team that can help with onboarding, or can help them understand how to use shared alerts, how to take advantage of the network topology mapping, which, by the way, we're going to be talking a little bit about today too.
yeah,
They're super excited about that. So I think that's going really, really well.
I agree. I agree. And that's a very valid point, GP. Sales engineering team is growing as well. And my thoughts on the product and the history of Domotz. It has
Yeah.
been always super simple to be adopted. As a matter of fact, we growth in the last few years just thanks to the product. But we are in a position right now where even though Domotz is as simple as possible, there
Yeah.
are so many functionality that really requires somebody that really knows Domotz from inside out, helping onboarding our customer,
Oh, yeah.
exploring all the feature and all the capabilities that are possible.
We
Uh,
have, to that point, right? To that point, we've been on several calls with current customers, right? Customers that have been using us for a couple of years now.
yeah,
And they're like, well, yeah, I've been using you for the asset discovery and the online offline status. I had no idea about the custom scripts and what you can do with that. They had no idea about, how VPN on demand becomes such a benefit to them, whether they're a service provider or an integrator or whatever it is they do, right? Because other systems are not working for them as well or as reliably as Domotz. And I think that when we start to show those capabilities, they're blown away. And so it really creates this need for us to have kind of a recurring meeting with these customers, which is what the account management team is about, right? How can we do quarterly or every 6 month sessions with these guys so that they all know what's changed, what's going on, what's on our roadmap, right?
yeah,
There's more than just the town hall, right? Because we can focus on your specific needs, right?
I completely agree on that, GP.
Yeah. You mentioned the product, Giancarlo, and part of the changes that we did is with our new product team, right? And you and I have been dealing with the product for a long time, but now we've got a dedicated team in place to really focus on What are the market needs? What are the customers asking for? How do we help build out a structure that really works for not only Domotz, but also for all of our customers in the segments that they're in? Give me some of your thoughts on what we're doing here.
Yeah, very good, JP. Yeah, and you said something very, I mean, something that I share. No, we have been me, you, and the rest of the employee in Domotz that have been here since the beginning. We have been doing so many different type of work. No, some days wearing the hat of a DevOps engineer, some days wearing the hat of a technical support guy. Many days wearing the hat of a product manager to design the product, to drive the product in the direction that helps the customer. But wearing a lot of hats, even though might help in some cases, it's not productive. So we really need to focus on the product, and that's why we just got on board a new vice president of product management. He's based in the US, and he will definitely help the product to grow even further in the next few months and years that comes.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about his background as well, and I'm hoping that on the next town hall we could actually have him join us and speak to some of his background and how he sees the company going. And I'm just super excited about it. I think the development team is also excited about it, right? Because I know that they are looking forward to the inputs and getting his background into this as well. So yeah, it's good stuff. Very good stuff. The next thing that I think we have to talk about, Giancarlo, is the channel partner program. We introduced the channel partner program back in November last year. It's been, well, I guess that means it's been about 8 months almost that we have been talking about this. I feel like over the last couple months, we have actually put this thing into practice and implemented it. And frankly, I think it's going extremely well. I think after we have conversations with customers about what this is about, how it's helping them, it's all extremely positive and people understand it and go well. I know from your perspective on the account management side that you've had many conversations with current customers out there. And I want to know from your point of view, like, what do they like about this? What are they seeing?
So they really see a way for scaling with Domotz. And I'm not talking about only the access to a discounting, tiering pricing. I'm not talking about that only, but more on the kind of relationship and feedback that we can get with this kind of customer. You mentioned something very important, which is through the account management team, we can now have like a periodic, it's like a quarterly business review. No, it's something like that. But with some of the customer, we really get in contact on a weekly basis, on bi-weekly basis, depending on the case and depending on the scenario. This kind of meeting bring us visibility on what the needs are from their point of view. And on the exchange, we bring to them all the capabilities that they can achieve with Domotz. And this is just to speak about account management relationship. It helps having visibility of Domotz, making sure that they can use Domotz at their best. But also, thanks to the help of the sales engineering team, we are also helping these new partners, part of the Domotz Channel Partner Program, to achieve more thanks to like integration scripts that we can help them develop. And I know that you want to speak about that as well in the
I do, because I'm super excited about some of those, but we'll get to that with the new product section. The one thing that I want to point out to people, and this is just why I think a lot of the changes that we're making are so important in the channel partner program and building out the revenue team is so important, is because the reality is, and Giancarlo, you and I know this very intimately, having been here for 7+ years, right? The support team was our communications that we had with each and every customer. And we got a lot of feedback, a lot of good feedback, right? A lot of things came from that. Like a lot of our roadmap was driven by that. The thing that we really, really needed to change though, was having communications on what the customer's needs were and setting that up, right? Effectively. Those are the things that we really, really wanted to do. And this allowed us, the account management team, having guys like, I know a lot of people have talked to Rory. I'll throw him out of there as an example, right? Rory has been in communications with these guys, touching base with what their needs are, what are their business needs are, what are their roadmaps looking like, so that we can help with that. So
I agree. And our amazing technical support team is still there. I mean, we are growing in that area as well. We are getting new resources in that area as well. It's still there. It's still providing a lot of help, but it's more in somehow in a reactive mode. No, you have an issue as a customer, you contact our support. Our support is amazing in answering back in a few minutes and provide assistance.
Yeah.
The sales engineering and the account management team is more on the proactive mode, making sure that every now and then we check in, we see how the things are going, but most importantly, we deliver something that might be beneficial for you as a partner.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Giancarlo, somebody decided to put up this comment here, right, from Dan, right, about tiered pricing and benefits. So let's get to the channel partner pricing and talk about that, right? What are the long-term smaller MSPs, right, that are now seeing these rate hikes that they're difficult to justify? How do we handle that, right? So let's address that. Let's you and I talk about the channel partner pricing and what that means. Let me give my perspective on this and what we're doing, and then I want to have you chime in as well. There's no doubt in my mind that people that have been with us for a long time have seen Domotz go through several different price increases, right? We've added benefits to these. You know, it's the cost of doing development. It's the cost of doing business. These are things that we need to deal with and handle. The reality too, we all know this, right? COVID and all of the policies that got put in place with respect to that caused inflation. So there's lots of things that have happened there. Let's just put that out there. The one thing that I will say is that with the channel partner pricing, we needed to create a structure that allowed our customers, right? You as the service providers, you as the integrators, to have a list price, right? A set price that's out there. And then based off of volume, right? We are now giving you discounts, right? Based into tiers, as Dan pointed out, that allows for you to essentially know, right, what your pricing is going to be. We are asking for things like 12-month commitments to get into this, but that's the right thing to do. And it's the right way that service providers really structure themselves. I will say this, right? If you don't want to commit to 12 months, you don't have to, right? There's the online program that you can do and be a part of. But I would point out, and if you haven't talked to one of our account executives or one of our account managers about the benefits that you get with this tiered structure, I definitely want you to do that, because what you're going to see is that you get more features, you get more persistent devices, you get larger networks that you can monitor, and you get the account management support like Giancarlo was talking about. So that's my perspective on this, and I think how we start to address this. What's your thoughts, Giancarlo?
Yeah, I completely agree, JP. Worth to mention that the price increase that you see on the website, if you come from a long time experience with Domotz, the price increase that you have seen since November, because that's where we put a new price in place on our website, it's the MSRP price, which is worth to mention is not the price to the partners. Price of the partner is, and I'm speaking about from experience, you know, with all the partners that I've been working on in the last few months, many of them have seen basically a flat price, no price increase. Some of them even a decrease by joining the Domotz Channel Partner Program. And for because it's worth to mention that with the Domotz Channel Partner Program, we also added a new, let's say, pricing model. It's worth to mention that, JP. I know for sure that we will talk about that.
Yeah. That's definitely part of this discussion I wanted to have, right? I mean, and Dan's comment really, I think it's at the heart of what a lot of people want to understand, right? What's going on here with this, and how has this been in place, and what's being done for me as a long-term customer, right? I mean, that's a common comment that we get. You see the benefits if you talk to our team and you're working with us, right? And we want to work with you. The goal is to make sure that everybody here is successful and that we're putting the right tools in place to help you provide better solutions for your customers.
Yeah.
We've talked about the account management. We've talked about the sales engineering side. We were forced to talk about the discounted tier pricing as well. One thing, Giancarlo, I want to talk about on the channel partner program, which I don't think people realize if they haven't contacted us, is if you're in the online model, you do have a need for booster packs, right? That is something that's placed so you can get scalability. Whereas when you're in the channel partner program, those things, I don't want to say go away, but those things essentially become a part of the channel partner program. You get more metrics, you get the larger scalability, you get the larger citers. And that is a very, very important thing to point out here, right? Which is a massive cost savings. We used to charge $50 extra just to get into a /16 citer, and that's no longer needed, right, in this program. So those are some of the positive changes that we have.
And similarly for whoever needed like additional metrics to monitor, like I don't know, a farm of printers or something like that. I mean, the additional metrics would require the booster pack. We also had customer adding booster pack because they required bigger bandwidth for remote connectivity. And all of that is basically waived out with the Domotz Channel Partner Program, because it's all included in the what we call Collector Plus or Collector XL kind of entity, no?
Yep, exactly. You know, the comments coming by with Jimmy here, right, about a 50% price increase, right? To your point, Giancarlo, you're seeing that on the website, but this is where I encourage Jimmy and others to contact our sales team, because we can work with the sales team, right?
Absolutely. Jimmy just added a comment which really brings us to the next part of this presentation, which is what we call the per device model.
Yep. Yeah, that's such a good point. Let's talk about the per device model, right? So one of the things that you get in the benefit of the channel partner program, and you only see this, right, if you have contacted our sales team, but you have the ability to do what Domotz has been doing for the last 8 years, which is a per site type of model. But when you contact our sales team, when you join the channel partner program, you also have the ability to do a per device type of model. Yes, there's a minimum associated with that, right? You got to talk to the sales team about that. Again, I'm going to tell you that we will work with you, okay? But we do have some bases for that. But here's the interesting thing. You can get to where if you're dealing with a small site, okay, something where you are only monitoring 1, 2, 3 devices in a given environment. In fact, Giancarlo, I'll give the use case of digital signage and billboards. Right? A lot of times, or I should say, we do have customers that are monitoring a single display, right, with a network, but it's remote, right? They have an agent deployed there, a collector deployed there. In that situation, monitoring a specific device, right, the display only or the display in the router, lowers their costs significantly. Right? They're no longer thinking about this as a site and having to pay the $35, right? They're paying per device, and it is, I mean, practically 1/100th of what they were paying before, right? So this is something that the capabilities are there, but again, you have to talk to our account management team and work with them on that. So.
Yeah, I agree, JB. So this is actually addressing the concern from Jimmy about the smaller sites. For the smaller sites, let's say you really need to monitor 2 or 3 devices on that site, or even up to 10 or whatever. Really, this new pricing model helps a lot to keep the cost very low, and actually lower than it was before. That's why when I said we have partners that are saving money with this new model.
Yeah, because I think what people are starting to find as well, Giancarlo, is that they can mix and match, right, the per site and per location. I'm sure that a lot of people have started looking at the sites, and they are, when they go to the specific site, and we can show this here. In fact, I'll just go ahead and show it now. What the heck? All right. So let's go to this mode, right? So when somebody clicks on their particular site, right, and they go into that page, they probably notice that they have this new collector settings section over here. If you are a standard online customer, the thing that you're going to see is when you go to the location mode or try to edit this, you're not going to be able to save the custom selection mode. But if you wanted to do this, you could select this and start bringing devices in to that platform. I do have an example here where if I go back to my Site Explorer page, if I go down to this is the same site, but I've set it up in custom selection mode and I'm monitoring one device, right? I'm monitoring one router, right? And so, like I said, this is a tenth of the price of what I would be paying normally, right? So people should be aware of this. The only way you get access to this is by being a part of our channel partner program. Now, one thing, Giancarlo, I noticed there's also a comment here about not knowing that people had an account manager, right?
Yeah, I want to clarify that this is available to whoever has signed an agreement for the Domotz Channel Partner Program. So to Dan Point, Andrew Point, and Ryan, as far as if you have signed a Domotz Channel Partner Agreement already with our sales team, I'm surprised you didn't have been contacted by the account manager. I'm very, very surprised. Anyway, feel free to send an email to sales@domotz.com. I will personally look at all of those emails. So if you have already signed an agreement with our sales team, I will personally reply and provide you with the account manager and the sales engineer associated to your account. But again, this is not available for the online motion. So if you're on the online motion, you're just getting the sites and the booster pack on that one. This is not where you get the account manager and the sales engineer associated to your account.
Really, and Andrew's bringing up another comment here, which I think is an important one, right? We started the channel partner program back in November. And I will tell you that there was a 3-month lag before we really started getting the account management team and the sales engineers in place. So it is worthwhile to do what you just suggested, Giancarlo, which is to reach out to sales@domotz.com, and we will make sure that your account has that. So that's perfect. I'm really glad to see you guys like adding a lot of these comments so that we can speak to this, because I know that it's been kind of a tough issue over the last couple months, but that's why we do these town halls, right? It's exactly why we want to address these things and understand, you know, what your needs are and what your feedback is. And I super appreciate that. So it's good. Giancarlo, let me ask you, we brought up the per device model within the channel partner program, really from the point of view of this is a way of saving costs, but I have a question for you. I mean, are there other scenarios or use cases, right? I just gave a simple digital signage one because that's one I'm kind of passionate about, right? Where this really benefits. I mean, I can speak about conference rooms and other things where this becomes beneficial, but have you seen any really interesting use cases where service providers may want to be thinking about how the per device model could be utilized?
Absolutely. I mean, think about scenario where you install a Domotz agent in a network where there is like a guest Wi-Fi. You really want to monitor the Wi-Fi access point, but you don't want to be notified about all the other devices, guest devices connected to that Wi-Fi access point. By leveraging this model, you really bring into Domotz the switches, the firewall, the router, and the Wi-Fi access point, and Domotz will not look at the rest. We still scan the network, we still somehow bring those device awareness, but you don't see them in the dashboard. You don't see them in the list of assets that you need to manage. So it's basically a way to keep the asset inventory that you can create in Domotz as clear as possible.
Yeah, that is a really good point about this, because we do have a lot of, we've talked to many of our customers, especially under this new model, about how can we, this is because they've been talking to our sales engineers and our account managers, right? A lot of times they're monitoring networks, maybe they're monitoring a guest network actually, and they're trying to figure out, how do I eliminate all of these devices because I just don't care about them. What I care about is the wireless access point that has set up the SSID for the guest network, or that VLAN. We've had many conversations about how to handle that. Our engineers have been on top of those things and helping, but also talking about things like blacklisting of devices, right? Or denied lists, right? Making sure that they don't look at things. This per device model makes it so that you focus on the exact systems that you care about and nothing else, right? Which can also be really, really beneficial there. So good. I like that. I like that.
There are a question about the program and the access to the program to some distributors like Pax8. I see some comments, and Domenico raised a very, very valid point there. So the first question was about from Robert, why is not available the Domotz Channel Partner Program through the Pax8 as a distributor. It's not available today, but it will be very soon, hopefully in the next few months. There is a technical limitation to that, which has been driving us crazy.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Yeah,
because there is a technical limitation where Pax8 was not able to basically manage different tiling price, depending on the volume. And that's the first limitation that we had. And for that reason, and this address Jimmy's question, you still see the flat price of $23 per site. No access to the Domotz Channel Partner Program, but still the price is flat as it was before. It's going to change. It's going to change as soon as they have the capability of implementing the channel partner program as well. Their price will increase as well, but of course there will be the Domotz Channel Partner Program, which will bring it back to a lower price depending on the volume.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Giancarlo. Right, this has been a challenge, and this has been a frustrating point for us at Domotz because, look, I mean, the business manager in me realizes that this puts channel conflict in place, right, in the markets, and service providers, manufacturers, distributors, vendors, whatever you want to call them, right? Channel conflict just causes problems for everybody, and it's not good. We are working very closely with Pax8 to ensure that we get all of these things resolved as quickly as possible, so that way we can all be functioning, happy, and move on to the things that we care about, which is, helping our customers and, making sure that we look like heroes when it comes down to how we service our customers. So that to me is what really this is about. So we will fix this, and we're working hard on it. I think there was this question about as well, Giancarlo, about the per device model into Pax8. And, I have to say that in my mind is still TBD on how and when that will happen. But it's definitely my expectation that what's available in the channel partner program will be available through our distribution partners as well. So I just wanted to make sure we address that. So
as a matter of fact, we are bringing that live as of July 1st on some other distributor in Europe.
Good. Yeah, you're here to help it happen. I love it.
I'm here for happening in Europe. Yeah.
So I'm sure that there are lots of comments that can still come in, and our team will address those. But in the interest of time, Giancarlo, I want to get to some of the new things that we've been doing. Right, a lot of these changes, a lot of these investments, the putting forth the product management team is to help us to continue with new products and some of the new investments that we're doing. And I have to say, over the last several months, right, the last 3 months, I've seen our team focusing a lot on the scripting engine, right? And I think I'm going to kind of drop to our last one. I think we're calling it really this open development framework that's out there. And I am super excited to point out a few of these new integrations. Do you want to start with some of the firewall stuff that we've done, Giancarlo? Should we address some of those?
Oh, yeah. So the firewall one that you mentioned is very, very interesting one, which is a funny story. I was at one of the events last year, And just by chance, I met one of the product manager of SonicWall, while discussing in front of a beer or coffee, I don't remember, we're talking about how monitoring solutions are struggling to monitor firewall rules or monitoring and creating templates of what the compliance from a firewall point of view should look like, how to monitor the VPN created through the firewall and so on. And so while discussing like that, we say, in Domotz, we can somehow easily do something together, some integration together that shows how we can configure, how we can monitor a SonicWall configuration. And that's how it started very few months ago, actually, very few months ago. And in a matter of a few weeks of development, we have brought new integration. We just announced it today, if I remember, if I saw correctly, let's go, with SonicWall. If I'm not wrong, JB, you have some slides.
I do. Yeah. Well, thank you for teeing that up, Giancarlo.
We will show that integration.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Giancarlo, you guys know me. I generally like to do a live demo, but unfortunately, the team that did this development is in Europe, and they have the SonicWall systems in place. So I'm just being relegated to a few slides. But I mean, Giancarlo, the thing that I take away from just this quick slide here is that we've done a lot of kind of our standard integrations, which is what's shown on the left here, the general properties, the device configuration backup, things like that we do and we talk about. But what I think is so cool, and actually the SonicWall team was pretty darn impressed with this as well, is being able to look into their systems and understand things like product lifecycle, security services, and whatnot, right? So I have a few slides here. Let me just kind of crank through some of these. Right? We know the general properties, seeing the firmware updates, seeing how the system is performing, and getting the device configuration backups. This is the stuff. I mean, Giancarlo, I'd love to get your thoughts on how you see service providers leveraging some of this information that we're bringing and what the benefits are to this. Do you mind speaking to the lifecycle parts?
Oh, absolutely. This is just the first step in this area of the product lifecycle. First step in terms of we have really few products at the moment, and SonicWall is one of them, where we are able to retrieve information about when the warranty is going to expire, when the specific model is going to be retired from the support. This piece of information is key for the MSP, not only to make sure that they have supported device in place, but it's a point for getting in touch with the customer and upsell new devices, upsell new hardware for them. In this case, the firewall, which is the SonicWall, but it applies to every single device. And we will add more and more devices into the list of the product lifecycle for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the fact that I can set alerts on these things to understand, for example, when something is going end of support, right? If I can set alert that says, if this is about to expire within 30 days, I need to take action, or I need to speak to my customer. I see this as being a real advantage here within this, and one of the areas that I think is such a big improvement. The other thing is the security services, and you and I, Giancarlo, were talking directly to the SonicWall team about this. But imagine, like, let's take a use case where you're dealing with SonicWall, right? And you're dealing with these systems across hundreds of customers, right? Being able to now apply alerts, right? Or a driver, right? These custom scripts to, your 100 customers. And then being able to automatically set alerts that say when, this when this device is going end of life, or when it's getting end of support, or being able to look at the security and say, hey, we'll just use the anti-spam service is turned off and it should be on, right? Being able to get an alert immediately on that, or when that has changed, is huge. It's huge from a security perspective.
It's a compliance check as well. No, you need to make sure that you are compliant to the rule that you gave to your company and to your customer's company. And by doing this kind of analysis, by doing this monitoring, you make sure that you are compliant and your customer are compliant.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a compliant template point of view.
Absolutely. And that's such a good thing. I mean, obviously VPNs, right, is another thing that comes in when it comes to firewalls. How are they set up? How are they configured? Are the sessions live? I think you can even go as far as looking at things like bandwidth and stuff like that within some of their SNMP sensors. But to me, like being able to now see these in the dashboard that you have, right, to say, hey, here's how these systems are configured, really, really helps the level 1 techs or the tier 1 techs to say, okay, this system is in a troubled state or this isn't a bad state. And if I need to escalate it to my tier 3 guys, they can. But this is about awareness of what's going on at the network infrastructure level that I think other systems are not showing, right? So this is just such a huge value add. There was another thing that we talked about, Giancarlo, and it's this, right? The actual firewall configurations. Being able to look at when I have a certain LAN, right, or VLAN that is allowing or not allowing specific or blocking domains, right, or blocking certain IP address ranges. I think this is something that, you set it up, you kind of forget about it. But if you can get an alert on it when it changes, right, that to me is what this is about. And again, it's how do I help differentiate myself and how can I do more for my customers to make sure that they are secure and going. So I just love these scripts that we've put in place for the SonicWall interfaces. And we worked really closely with the SonicWall team. So I'm going to say kudos to the SonicWall engineers, kudos to our development team for creating these scripts. And by the way, Giancarlo, in fact, I should probably show this, right? You guys will notice these scripts in the automation and script settings. If you go to the pre-configured scripts and type SonicWall, if I type it correctly, right, you'll see all of these show up here.
Yeah.
So
I agree. And JB, just worth to mention, this goes on top of the configuration management capabilities that we have already for the SonicWall firewall. So the capability of backing up configuration file, creating a version control of the configuration file, creating an alerting mechanism that inform you that something has changed or if there is a misalignment between the startup and runtime configuration. This goes on top of that.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, that to me is just an important setup thing, and you are spot on, right? We're still doing all of those things, but this is just about getting more from these systems.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, I have to give a shout out to the SonicWall team for creating APIs that allow solutions like Domotz to be able to extract that information and be able to make that available within an easy to use dashboard.
And there is to that topic, GB, there is a comment from Andrew about any thought about doing a similar type of integration with other firewall vendors like pfSense, for instance. So Andrew, for sure, there is interest to add more and more, but to specific pfSense, I want you to make sure that you check the custom script because there are already scripts for monitoring pfSense configuration in the Domotz platform.
Yeah.
So it's specific to pfSense, but I mean, to be more generic, yes, we are adding similar integration with the firewall like Fortinet.
And Giancarlo, just to be like very transparent about this SonicWall stuff, we did this with SonicWall because the APIs, the capabilities were there, and their team was very willing to work with our team in order to create this, these scripts. I want to point out that these scripts are not hidden, right? I mean, I can go in here and probably pull up exactly what they look like. And pfSense is a great example where it's a little bit more open. And if somebody wants to go in, oh, I'm not showing it. It helps. It helps if I show what I'm doing here. These scripts are readily available, and you can see how we did this with the SonicWall systems. If you have knowledge about scripting and intimate knowledge of pfSense or whichever firewall platform you're using, you can extract this.
If I remember correctly, the pfSense should be already there. So if you search by the script for pfSense, there are already some pfSense script there. Just to be specific now to the question from Andrew.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. Very good. Giancarlo, another thing that we've done, which I think this is also just while we're on the firewall topic, right? Fortinet, FortiLink in particular, right? The FortiLink integrations. Those are some things that we have improved as well. Can you speak to the challenges we had before and what's new?
I can speak about that, even though it's a strange topic. For whoever is familiar with networking, I was so surprised about learning how the FortiSwitch are managed when they are connected to the FortiGate through the FortiLink protocol. Basically, when the FortiSwitches are managed through the FortiLink, even though you plug the device hosting the Domotz agent to the FortiLink that you want to monitor, the FortiLink is not seen on the layer 2. Yeah. As strange as it sounds, that's the reality. So we had to do a development where the Domotz agent connects to the FortiGate, and through the means of the FortiLink and the API there, retrieves all the information of the FortiSwitches, and it makes it available in the Domotz platform. So until a few weeks ago, actually, we didn't have a proper capability of monitoring the FortiSwitches when they are managed through the FortiGate. And now we have added this capability. So we discovered the FortiSwitch through the FortiGate. We discover how they are connected to each other, what devices are connected to the FortiSwitch through the FortiGate API, the FortiLink API, basically. There is nothing to see here, but the fact that now we do that through this integration.
That's good. That's good, right? I mean, and this is a challenge, as I understand it, this is a challenge that a lot of network monitoring solutions or systems have had problems with when it came to the, let's call it the Fortinet environments, right? And how they structured it. But the fact that we've taken a proactive approach to help solve some of this, I think is really, really good. Getting to some of the other, because I'm looking at our time here, getting this quickly to some of the other scripts that we've put in place, Giancarlo. Microsoft SQL Server monitoring, right? Another thing that we have added that I think we wanted to mention. Any thoughts on the benefits there or what we've done?
Oh yeah. So through the means of the same framework, we are now able not only to monitor MySQL data servers, but also the Microsoft SQL Server. What it means is that we do not only monitor the server hosting the MySQL server. We do not only monitor that the service is available, TCP port is open basically, but we can connect to the SQL server and through the means of queries, check the status of the database, check the table span if there is a still available space, checking if there are too many open queries, checking everything to that need. So
that's
it's
awesome.
more going into the application monitoring space.
Yeah, exactly. You're actually branching into kind of some, like you said, application monitoring. So if the application starts getting stressed or functioning beyond what you would expect in the threshold, you can set alerts on those things. That's very, very, very good. I think the same thing's happening on VMware as well, right, Giancarlo? I mean, the ability to kind of interrogate the VMware system, the hosts, and understand what's going on there is improved as well, right? All right. Giancarlo, I want to talk about...
That's correct statement, GB. So we have added...
Oh no, Giancarlo. I think your parents' house internet needs some monitoring because I see you cutting out a little bit. Hopefully it's not me. So yeah, Giancarlo, it looks like your video has frozen. Hopefully it's not my side. Let me talk a little bit about OnViv scripting and some of the changes that we've made there. There you're back, Giancarlo. So from an OnViv perspective, one of the things we've done, and I think everybody knows this. In fact, I always like demonstrating this. Let's see if this is let's see if this goes successfully. Let's go to our IoT lab here and let us bring up one of our cameras that we have. So if I do a search for camera, I think people know this about Domotz, but I'll show it anyway. We have the ability when we see an on-viv camera to not only tell you that it is online, but we have the ability to grab the snapshot. You guys can see all of the yard work that I'm doing right now. I'm sure my neighbors are not happy about the dirt, but I'm doing some xeriscaping here. So that's what's going on there. But one of the cool things that we have added with respect to our scripting engine is now you guys can start to set alerts when you see that the streaming profiles have changed or that the camera is no longer streaming. Okay, so we can actively interrogate the system to look at these and say, hey, this camera has immediately stopped, right? It's not streaming. It's not that I can't see a snapshot, it's that it stopped streaming to the NVR, okay? Which, you know, from an infrastructure perspective, I think is really, really cool. The fact that we've put in place these types of alerts and structure to this, I think is what the real benefit of this is. Any thoughts? Any other thoughts on that, Giancarlo?
No, that's that just brings us to the next topic, which is, I mean, it speaks also to some of the comments from Dan. I see he's asking if the SQL monitoring is going to be expanded or if there is any other expansion there. It brings us to the next topic, which is speaks about the framework, the open development framework that we have created, and the capability we have there, for developing further integration as fast as possible, but also to customize the integration in the way you want and in the way you need. You know, the on-viv scripts have been added really in a few hours. I'm smiling because it really took a few hours to do that development.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet if you were to go look at, I don't have any of the example scripts and I should have prepared for that, but I think if you look at it, it's just a few hundred, it's not even probably 100 lines of code in order to extract some of this information. But the type of automation that you can do with this, right? When it comes to being able to say, when this happens, you know, wait X amount of time, then take an action, do a power cycle, do whatever, so that you can remove, right, the human side of this, right, and the errors that can be associated with it, I think are so very beneficial. So I just love it. I love what the team has done here. On the open development framework side, Giancarlo, being able to do things now like configuration backups of systems that are not just network infrastructure, that's pretty damn cool, right?
That's huge. And it also expands to the networking devices. If you as an MSP or a service provider or an integrator have your own networking device, which probably it's not super super adopted by majority of other MSP, there is a little interest, let's say, from any monitoring company to develop an integration against that networking device. But thanks to this open development framework, we have now given the possibility to do a backup of everything. Backup of text file or configuration file of basically everything. I always give this example. Imagine on a Linux environment, you want to monitor the content of a directory. You do a dir and you store it in a file, and then Domotz will automatically store this list of files there and compare with the previous. So as soon as something changes, you get a notification.
Right.
It's not a proper configuration file, but it's something that you can monitor in the history and see the changes there.
Actually, just to see that the file changed may be what you need to know in order that something is wrong or that somebody made a change that they weren't supposed to, right? And being able to revert back to that is such a big deal. So I love it. I love where we're going here. We've got a few minutes left. I want to leave time to address some of the comments that have been coming in as well. But let's talk a little bit about what's in the pipeline, Giancarlo. I know that Matt, right, our VP of Product Management, is getting his head wrapped around where we are today and where we're going. But some of the key things that I know are in the pipeline, there's 3 things that I want to talk about that will be addressed this year. Let's talk about tagging first.
And this is the 3 things that you mentioned is just, let's say, the big activity that we'll bring. We will continue to do developments around integration. We will continue to improve the platform, improve the performance of the platform. I'm always very, very keen to the details of the performance of our platform. In the past, I've spoken multiple times how we improve that. So we will continue to work in that direction. But there are three major areas where we will see some improvements, and the tagging is definitely one of them. As of today, we have the capability of tag a certain device with what we call pre-configured tag, which is just important or not important device.
Right.
We will expand that capability to custom tagging. We will provide the user the capability to define their own tag, and we will be able to, and the user will be able to add the tag at the device level as well as the site level. So they can tag sites by VIP versus standard support, or tag sites by the stage of the deployment. Like this site is in a staging environment, not in production, versus the site which are in production. So,
yeah,
and it will be as flexible as possible.
Yeah, and being able to filter by those tags, right? I mean, you guys, the people that have been with us have seen massive changes through our inventory dashboard, right? At the site level and at the device level. But now imagine being able to filter on tags, customized tags that are relevant to your business, that make sense to you, and being able to set up those dashboards in ways that make sense for your support teams or your customers, right? I think that this notion of tagging is so very powerful. And, tagging has been around for many years in many different environments, but the fact that Domotz is now embracing that makes this even better, right? Makes this solution even better for you. So I'm excited about it. Speaking of tagging, Giancarlo, imagine if we kind of change this now to talk about role-based access control and what that means for our users. Let me describe today what the user types are, and then you talk about where we're going, okay? So today, when you create an account, you're what we call the team master. Think of yourself as like the super admin. And then you have team members, right? These are guys that have visibility into all of the collectors that have been deployed. And then you have this notion of field operators, right? A field operator is a user that then is allowed to see the specific collectors that a team member has provided to them. And that's it, right? That's the level that we have today. It's actually extremely powerful. And as a solution for a service provider, it really does meet a lot of the needs, but we've had a lot of requests for more. So Giancarlo, can you speak to, this role-based access control and what we're doing? Ooh, did I lose you, Giancarlo?
Yes, absolutely. So to your point, JB, and just to give an example, the field operator kind of member. Can you hear me?
It's just a little bit delayed, Giancarlo. Interesting delay. Looks like Giancarlo's parents need some network monitoring in their house, is what I'm gathering here. So Giancarlo, let me describe what it is that we're seeing just in the interest of time so we can get some of the questions. But with role-based access control, we want to be able to have you as the service provider define the user types and what their capabilities are within the feature set that the Domotz has. We've had many requests for things like read-only users. Okay, what I want to see is you guys creating user types that make sense in your business and giving access where needed. Maybe you have the example of a read-only user, but maybe you also have the example where you want somebody to have some control and capabilities, but not remote connectivity. Being able to define those types of users, I think, is where this becomes really, really powerful. But then also we're talking about having user groups. So imagine if you wanted to segment your customers in certain ways, but then give specific user types within those user groups. So that way user groups now can have very specific visibility on certain sites or certain locations and have certain capabilities that they wouldn't otherwise have, or you may want to limit their capabilities, right? In my mind, this is also about limiting and taking more of a security first approach to how your employees or how potentially your customers have access to these types of systems. So that's what we're doing with respect to this role-based access control.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you, Jean.
It also speaks about giving a simple access to our billing team, or account management team. They need to check invoicing, or they need to manage, or somebody that just needs to manage the team. So we will have this granular approach to all the capabilities, and let's say custom user groups that you can define and give the capability that you want to the user that you want.
Yeah, billing is a great example of a request we've had. How can I have my billing team get access to this? But I don't want them to touch anything, right? I want them to just see what the IDs are for customers and what the invoicing is, right? So that's a perfect example. Last thing that I want to mention, and then we'll address some of these comments that have come in. Network topology mapping, right? The improvements to what people are seeing. This is, first of all, our network topology map, I think, is awesome. The way that we leverage the RFC protocols to build out the parent-child relationships are really good. I think that many of our customers have seen some of the minor improvements that we've done with respect to the integration of LLDP into this, right? And now we're discovering all of the interfaces that particular devices have and showing that, allowing you to connect those interfaces when maybe our algorithms haven't shown this correctly. I think that is awesome stuff that has been going on the back. But Giancarlo, talk to me about the future. Talk to me about what we're doing next.
So we will definitely, I mean, it's the mechanism behind the topology map that we create is pretty complex. And we will definitely improve that mechanism, but we will start from the UI. We will start from how the topology map is a look and feel. No, right now, yes, it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing tool. It helps a lot the customer. But if you want to present the topology to your customer, yeah, it's just a simple graph. It doesn't show, for instance, it doesn't show which are the VLAN or which are the segregation that you put in place for your customer. We want to add this kind of details into the graph, the topology map, but in a very nice look and feel way.
So yeah, giving more details about the connections and the interfaces. And I'm really, I mean, one of the things I'm super excited for about this, from what I'm hearing, is the VLAN, an understanding of the VLANs within the network topology map and being able to filter, right, by these things. I think it's going to be so powerful, right? So that's all these things, right? The tagging, the RBAC or role-based access control, and these topology mapping are things that people are going to see here in the next 6 months. So I'm super excited about that.
And there will be a lot of things to add to that, but yeah.
Oh,
as
you
I
know,
said, some are bigger. We will talk in the future.
Oh yeah, and our team is continuing to build out scripts, right? And as we've said before, if there are specific scripts that you guys need, let us know. Talk to our support team. I want to address a couple comments that came through before we get off this call, okay, Giancarlo, because unfortunately I'm out of coffee now, so we just have to end this thing. Some of the comments that came in about support, you know, people were pointing out within the channel partner program, they didn't know they had account managers, and we talked about that. They were asking about support. I think one of the questions came up is, you know, when can we have a little bit more of a dedicated support line as opposed to just doing email, because sometimes email is slow. I would like to point out to those comments that one of the key benefits of the channel partner program is making sure that you know you have an account manager that you can email. And to your point, Giancarlo, having a sales engineering team that can help back you up as well, especially when it comes to not just onboarding, but if you have specific questions that are maybe outside of support, right? We will help there. And our support team is always very willing to do two things. One, get on a live chat with you, or get on a Zoom call, get on a Teams call, right? Whatever meets your needs for where you are at that time. So we're going to continue to have that and build that out So I wanted to make that statement. The other thing that I want to say before we get off is I recognize that change is difficult. It's difficult for everybody. There's been a lot of comments here, and I know that Domenico and some of the other team members have addressed, some of the reasons for these changes. But I want you guys to know that these changes are something that we feel we have to do with respect to our company. And we think that it benefits our user base in a very positive way. I recognize that change is hard, but that is exactly why we invite you to contact our team so that we can work directly with you and find a solution that is amicable to both of us, right? To our parties. We are here for you guys. We want to see you be successful, just like we want to make sure that we're all successful. And that is something that, I have dedicated myself to this company, and I'm going to keep doing that. And I think, Giancarlo, I know you feel the same way about that. So any other parting thoughts?
Absolutely. I do.
Yeah.
No, that's you said it right. I mean, I define myself as keen to the success of our customer, because that's the way we both win. Your success is making sure that you can grow around Domotz. You can do more with Domotz, and basically bring the monitoring everywhere you can, because that's a very valid point in all the spaces now that we touch. Managed service provider, they have done a great job in the past few years to monitor the endpoints, Windows PC, laptop servers, but have done very, very little around the network. And that's where Domotz comes in. In the other spaces, in the integration spaces, Domotz is really the key to bring a monitoring solution around the operational technology that are around every single environment that you build for your customers.
It's so right, Giancarlo, so very right. Well, Giancarlo, that being said, thank you for your time. Please enjoy your time with your family in Italy, and also please give the development team and all of our marketing team and everybody over in Italy my thanks for being a part of this, and have fun, sir. We'll see you later.
Thanks a lot, JB. See you later.